It must have been something to see. Jesus, filled with grief at the death of his friend Lazarus, wipes the tears from his eyes and then stands before the tomb that holds the lifeless body of his friend and calls him, "Lazarus, come out." And he does. And then Jesus says to those around him, "Untie him and let him go free." Oh, it must have been something to see. But I wonder, then what? What did Lazarus do next? I don't know. But I'd picture him looking at his friend Jesus and grabbing him and hugging him, and then grabbing Mary and Martha, and maybe all of them laughing and probably wiping a tear or two from their eyes as well. And what would Lazarus be like after that? The scriptures really don't say anything about his life from that point on. But I'd imagine this. I'd imagine that after he went and saw his loved ones and told them the news and cherished time with them again, I picture him getting some time alone to look back on his life a bit and to think, what will I do different now that I have this chance? And I picture him so grateful for this second chance that he didn't let little things annoy him so much. I picture him so grateful for this second chance that he made sure he kept the main thing in his life. And I picture him so grateful for the second chance that he had, that he went around and made sure his other friends and family members knew the good news of how precious this life was and how to live it well. I picture him a changed man. And I think about us. We've all been given a second chance, and more than one. There are some here for whom it was an obvious thing. You got a really horrible diagnosis, but you somehow lived. Or you were in a tragic accident and you survived. But all of us, even if it was nothing that dramatic, have been given a new chance. The fact that we are here this very moment says we have been given a second chance. It's just that sometimes we don't notice it. Or we come out of our tombs a little bit and then kind of crawl back into them. Over 25 years ago, I was on retreat with my classmates. The retreat master led us on a series of meditations by the Jesuit Anthony de Mello. And in part, we were to imagine that we got news from the doctor that we had an illness that would take our lives. We were supposed to process that. And then who would we tell? Who would be the first person that we would want to tell? And we were sent back to our rooms to write a letter to our loved ones. And then we came back, and different parts of the meditation led us through different things, but part of it was being at our own funeral. And at one moment, we are to picture ourselves from inside our casket, looking up at the faces of loved ones who came by. And we couldn't say anything, but we could listen to what they said and see their faces. And you knew what you wanted to say, but you couldn't say it. You just had to listen. And when those series of meditations were all over, I remember going outside for a walk. And over 25 years later, I still remember what the leaves sounded like under my feet when I took that walk. So grateful was I for this second chance to live again. And we've all been given a second chance. Sometimes we forget, and sometimes we crawl back into the tomb, but I'll say it again. The fact that you and I are alive right here means we have been given another chance to live life fully, to choose to remember again what really matters. And to help us in that, I'm going to invite you to use your imagination a bit as well. I will lead you on the first part of that series of exercises that my classmates and I were led on, because I hope that in some way it might help us remember again the precious gift we have been given. I'll put some music on in the background, and then I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take a few breaths, and then I'll invite you to use your imagination. And though some use imagination more readily than others, I invite you to go with it if you would. So, please, if you take a moment and close your eyes, and I invite you to take in a good deep breath or two. And as you breathe in, become aware of being alive. And as you breathe in, become aware of being you. And now imagine yourself, if you would, alone at the doctor's office, waiting for news from some tests you took. You know that the tests could show something very serious. And finally, the doctor comes in. There's a kindness in your doctor's face, but a concern. And you say, "Doctor, just tell me." He says, "I'm sorry. You have an illness that will take your life." "How long do I have?" "Well, no one knows for sure. Probably 3 months, 6 at the most." I'm sorry. And the doctor leaves and you are alone. And you sit for a moment with that news. And then you think, who would you want to tell? Who would be the first person that you would want to let know your news? You've got a moment or two to think about who you would tell and what you would say to them. Let's take some quiet and maybe practice the words you would want to use. And now, I invite you in your imagination to go ahead and tell your loved ones. If you can, picture them. Hear yourself say the words. Tell them what's on your heart. Is there somebody else you'd want to tell next? Who else would you call, or write, or visit? What would you say there? Now you've got some time alone, some time to look back over your life a bit. And as you think about it, what would you have done differently? Is there something you would have done that you didn't, or something, some way you'd like to be different if you had another chance? And now, with your eyes still closed, I invite you to become aware of being alive here and now. And as you are ready, I invite you to open your eyes and take a breath or two again, a deep breath. Become aware of being alive. Become aware of being you. As I mentioned, I know that some people use imagination more readily than others. If you found any gift in that meditation, I'm glad. If it was difficult or you fell asleep, it's okay. Because it's still true. It's still true that we are right now given a second chance, that we are called forward from the tomb of our half-lived lives today for a second chance. Today, Jesus stands not before Lazarus, but before you and me. And he calls our names. He says, come forth and be free. Our second chance starts now. Well, hello, buddy. How are you? Bored. You're bored? Oh, it's a shame. Big Al, look around. See, Big Al, look, what do you see? Boring. Okay, Big Al, then I think Jesus has a message for you. For me? For you. What? I think Jesus says, Big Al, come forth. From what? From your tomb. What tomb? Well, the tomb that, no offense, you crawled into by your stupidity. What tomb? Oh, Big Al. Okay, when I say tomb, I mean that you have chosen not to be alive. By being bored, you're not seeing what life is here. And if you could look around, Big Al, and see rightly, you would see goodness. You would see God. Big Al, don't miss life. And if you're bored, it's not because life isn't exciting. It's because you're missing it. I'll try. Bye. Oh, boys and girls, we pray that no one is bored because there's never really a reason to be bored. And if we looked around and saw how precious this life was now and every moment, we would never take it for granted or be bored. To everyone here, I pray that we realize the gift that is ours this morning, a second chance that begins now.